Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and this is going to be my review on Contest of Chaos Part 1. This is going to be a 3-issue review. But before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe on this guy's channel. All the likes, the comments, all that stuff is free. It doesn't cost you anything. Hit the bell. I don't have a schedule when I drop my videos, but it will keep you in touch. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first off, all the writers and artists and colorists and letterers will be down in the information, the description below, if you're interested to check out, because each one's written by someone different, art by someone different. So let's get into it. So Spider-Man and Wolverine is where we start off. This is Spider-Man Annual 2023, issue number 1. Each one of these is featured in an annual. I have no clue why they did that, but it works for me. So we start out, and it's basically explaining that there was an issue before this, like a Agatha, part 0 or something that I missed. But basically, they're explaining that somehow she has come across this heart of it's a heart of chaos, but it belongs to somebody. The heart of Chthon. C-H-T-H-O-N. And now that she has that heart, we don't really know what she's going to do with it. Supposedly it has like immense dark magic or something like that. So we get past that scene, because that's basically all it is her holding the heart. We do see a little bit of Spider-Man mixed in there. But basically we start out with Spider-Man, and he's an average day. It's a Tuesday or something like that. He ends up, taking out the Rhino pretty easily. He ends up going home. We see that she's kind of doing some kind of spell over, I think it's the Darkhold. And Spider-Man ends up going through a window. When he goes through the window, he is teleported to this mythical place. At first he thinks it's a dream or a nightmare. He quickly realizes it is not. While this goes on, Agatha is casting the spell. She is basically concocting the contest of chaos. She's furthering her plan. As she does this, a demon that is sent from someone that doesn't want her to go through with this, it's Corrosion, is the main demon that sends this demon through the portal or whatever. Tries to kill Agatha. It didn't work. Agatha uses some magic and ends up capturing him and sending him back, basically telling that if Corrosion wants anything to do with her, she can come for herself, kind of thing. We get back to the matter at hand. There is a little scene where we see where Agatha is, and she's on a ship, traveling across the oceans. But we get back to the situation at hand. Like I said, Spider-Man is trying to figure out what's going on. Still thinks it's a dream, but of course, all of a sudden Wolverine crashes out through a window, and they both realize, because at this point they're both thinking that it was a dream or whatever. But they quickly use each other, like Wolverine smells Spider-Man, knows that he's not, kind of thing. But with Wolverine, they kind of figure out that they're in basically the city of El Dorado, this mythical city or whatever. He knows they're near Brazil. He can smell it and stuff like that. But he has to deduce that some of this is fantasy and some of it is real. Like, they are somewhere real, but most of what they can see is fantasy. But they eventually make it into a temple. Make it into this. They find this like glowing door that they're kind of leading to eventually as they go through. That's kind of where the contest starts, because they make it through. They find this orb, and instantly they start going nuts. Something is telling them that they need the orb, that they want the orb, and that's basically what starts this battle royale. It's Spider-Man versus Wolverine. They're both after the orb. Spider-Man kind of grabs it first, and he has it through most of it, and as it goes through, he's the one that kind of realizes that they're not, that something is controlling them, that something isn't right. And eventually that's how Spider-Man ends up losing, because it gets more distracted with what's going on versus trying to keep alive from Wolverine, because Wolverine kind of messes him up. I mean, it starts out with here. He starts bleeding after this, and Spider-Man could take some damage. That's one of my favorite things about Spider-Man, but I mean, he's getting clawed at the chest, you know, kind of thing. But eventually Wolverine does, you know, he is the victor. He makes it out of that room with the orb, and as soon as he makes it out of that room, he kind of holds it up to his chest, and he is teleported away. Spider-Man is also teleported, but just back to where he came from, kind of thing. We have the scene over here with Spider-Man linking up with Jessica Drew, which I love. It's one of my favorite characters. But basically, it's at this point, it's Spider-Man and Jessica Drew trying to figure out what happened to Wolverine and what bad guys behind this. There is a simple scene with, you know, we find out that Wolverine was teleported to Agatha wearing this badass new, like, armor, I guess because he's a champion of the contest of chaos kind of thing. And that's where this issue leaves off. So we go directly to the next issue, which is Ironman Annual, issue number 2, Storm versus Iron Man. This one doesn't waste a whole lot of time. It pits us right in the action kind of thing. We are following Storm, and she is hearing voices, and not one but many voices throughout her past. At some points it's, you know, it's Black Panther, other times it's Kitty Pryde, you know, but it's just different moments through her past, and she knows that they're not, you know, really the voices or whatever. But as soon as she gets to where the voices are telling her to go, it's kind of like Linked with the Wind or whatever. But as soon as she gets there, Tony, you know, Stark shows up, aka Iron Man, and we find out that he's been hearing the same voices. He's checked with all the other Avengers, kind of same with her. She's checked with the X-Men and stuff like that. And both sides claim that they don't hear the voices, that it's just them. And at this point, they thought they were going crazy until they both meet up, and they learn that they're not going crazy, that the voices drew them here. They don't know why. They end up going into this cave. Ironically, both of them do not like caves. Tony Stark, and that's where his origin was, his whole heart thing in the cave. And then Storm is hugely claustrophobic. So they're drawn into the cave. They don't want to go in there, and they basically go in there. And as soon as they get in the cave, it's on. It's just like the orb thing. They don't know why. This one's a little different, where it's like the voices that are there, they start playing with Storm and Iron Man's like insecurities. And I mean, this book does not hold back. They talk about, like, you know, how Storm used to be married to, you know, T'Challa. Like they touch base on her going to Wakanda and stealing the sword, also retribution for the sword, you know. They do touch base on a lot of things, you know, like, you know, Civil War, Exodus Sword, a lot of stuff in both people's storylines. But basically that's what gets them to start fighting each other. And Tony makes this early kind of weak move with Storm, where he does hit her, but in fact he like tells her that he's holding back, and he shouldn't have done that because it kind of pisses off the goddess that Storm is. I want to say there is no real upper hand in this battle. I mean, there are times when Storm gets the upper hand. There are times when Tony gets the upper hand. There's both moments where the cave is still messing with both of them, you know, like he's showing them moments throughout their storyline that kind of brings back heated memories kind of thing, and it just enforces them to fight harder kind of thing. But eventually in this one, and it goes back and forth, like I said, the cave kind of messes with them. This is the scientist that helped, you know, Tony get out of that cave, and he's being tormented by that. And we got the Shadow King over here. What's his name? Master Amul Furok, aka the Shadow King, you know, and he's a big part of Storm's past. But basically the cave's just messing with them. And like I said, they just keep going back and forth. There is a moment where, like, another moment where Tony does the same thing. Oh, I'm holding back because I'm Avenger kind of thing. I want to say there is some other cool moments where the cave does mess with them further. With Hellcat recently at last year's annual, and Tony Stark didn't really like help out, you know, Hellcat when it came down to what was his name, Blackheart. She didn't really need his help. That's discussed, but they bring in some other stuff like Happy and Pepper, and of course Storm's getting messed with too. At the very end, though, it's basically like, you know, Storm is, I mean, she basically takes out Tony. It's kind of like this thing where she just electrifies the whole cave kind of thing. There are some moments where they both kind of are figuring out what's going on, but neither one of them really do. But Storm ultimately is the champion because what she does in the cave, she kind of knocks out Tony. But you see her being teleported away here. She kind of screams out at Tony that she is being teleported, and at the end Tony calls Captain Marvel to come pick him up. There is this little side story, and this is where it kind of began, you know, from the last issue with Spider-Man and Jessica Drew. But at this point they're going forward with the investigation, at this point learning that Storm has been kidnapped, and at this point just basically deducing that they need more magical help. So we see that they're enlisting the current Doctor Strange, Clea Strange. I'm not familiar with her, but I know she is the current Doctor Strange. But that's where this issue leaves off. So last but not least, we got Fantastic Four Annual #1. This is going to be as shown, you know, Johnny Storm, aka Human Torch, versus Ghost Rider. Now, I was unclear which Ghost Rider, and the book doesn't seem to be so clear. Nah, it does. It's Johnny Blaze. Kind of states right here in the beginning. I was just messing with you. But so we start out, and it's basically, and this one I kind of like because the other ones you can't really tell if it's in main continuity or anything. This one, it does look like it's in main continuity because this is exactly the way the Fantastic Four look currently, specifically with Johnny Torch's mustache. He's rocking that sucker right now in the current Ryan North run, I think it is. It's not like, you know, this is directly following issue 11. No, nothing like that. But since their appearance does look like their current appearance on the current run of Fantastic Four, I want to say this. I mean, it's set up in main continuity kind of thing. Basically, it's you know, Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm. They're in a Mr. B's like shoe store. Things getting some new shoes or whatever. And he is told to go check on Mr. B. He goes back to the bathroom to go check on Mr. B, and that's when he is teleported, just like the other ones. Well, not like Johnny. Well, not like, you know, Iron Man but like kind of like Spider-Man. But anyways, he's teleported, and we see that it's a version of hell. As soon as he gets there, he's greeted by Johnny Blaze, aka Ghost Rider, and they both kind of, you know, they're trying to figure out what's going on. Johnny Blaze knows that this isn't hell. He was the ruler of hell at one point. He realizes that there are some illusions going on, but before they can even, you know, discuss anything further, Johnny Blaze just jumps at Human Torch, trying to beat the hell out of him, because he knows that he has something to do with what's going on, even though he doesn't. Of course, you know, flame on, right? And then we get this battle that breaks out. Before they can get too far into it, some demons get involved, and they try knocking them out. This is kind of where we learn that they're not in hell, that they're, because they end up knocking one out, and he turns into like a regular person. At this point, they start guessing where they are, like Milwaukee, Chicago, Detroit. They don't know where they are, but they do know it's somewhere Midwestern kind of thing. So just like Johnny Storm, you know, he flamed on. Same thing with Ghost Rider, and pretty much at this point, the battle ensues. You know, there is no grand talk or anything. Johnny Storm, you know, Ghost Rider is pretty determined to get the answers out of Human Torch. What's going on? Why are they here? You know, of course, Human Torch doesn't have any of these answers, but he also knows that he is a little underpowered to fight Ghost Rider. He doesn't state it in so many words, but pretty much the whole fight, Johnny Storm is just like, look, I know you're a hero. I'm a hero. This isn't how we do things. I don't want to fight you. I'm out of here. And he just ends up taking off. Ghost Rider being at a hindrance since he can't fly or whatever, he does end up grabbing a van, which you see that he pulls it out of the, you know, I mean, some of the illusion disappears, but goes back to the way it was. Eventually Johnny Storm comes across a like hell train. It is confirmed that it's a real train. There's real people on this train. Human Torch determines that. And there's some cool stuff going on, like the instructor of the train, conductor. He goes up to him and it's a cat, and as soon as he opens his mouth, it's really like a smaller cat inside the mouth. It freaks the hell out of Johnny Storm. But anyways, eventually Ghost Rider catches up. The fight continues on the train. And like I mentioned before, at this point, Johnny Storm is just, he's a lot intelligent, you know, a lot more intelligent than people would think. But during this fight, he basically knows that he can't win, especially because anybody that has any kind of sins, I mean, Ghost Rider could use that stair pins and the fight's over kind of thing, and Johnny Storm knows this. So basically at all cost he is running away from Johnny Blaze. He doesn't know what the heck is going on, and he's using every opportunity that he can to get as far away from Ghost Rider as he can. There are a couple times that he does try to attack, but his attacks don't really do any kind of damage since Ghost Rider's fireproof. But in the end, he eventually uses his intelligence to, you know, kind of get away from, you know, or win the fight per se, but he ends up using Ghost Rider's own chains on him, and he ends up like getting him pulled throughout the death train. And as it goes, you can see that, I mean, Ghost Rider gets pulled out, but there's a whole bunch of like boop, blah, you know, like he probably didn't die, but he probably got beat the hell up getting pulled out of the train kind of thing. But they do show you that Ghost Rider doesn't die, but he did get like messed up, and the train keeps on moving. But at that point, that's where the Human Torch gets teleported like out of this scenario. The whole world starts changing back to its original, you know, situation. And as soon as he gets teleported over there, you know, he's getting, you know, he's one of the chosen few, that the contest of chaos winners or whatever, and he won by default. And it's even said by like Agatha down here at the bottom, like, you know, I'll allow it, even though technically you didn't win, but he kind of did, you know, kind of thing. So we go back to another side story, and it's a little bit of like explanation of chaos and what the magic users do to prevent chaos from entering the world kind of thing. There's really not a whole lot of story here, and this part it's just them meeting up with Clea Strange or whatever, and basically she states that she has found the culprit or the culprit's magic, and they are teleporting to that specific spot, and that's where this one ends off. The next issue will be, it looks like Moon Knight Annual 1, and it looks like my dude Tai Goki, I think is how you pronounce his name, but Tao versus Moon Knight, which I'm really looking forward to. I love Tao. He's basically like Marvel Superman versus Moon Knight. I don't know. But that is my review on, you know, my part 1 on Contest of Chaos. Let me know down below what you thought about it. Actually, I'm kind of surprised. It's a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. I like the whole like magic being the cause of them fighting, you know. And it actually works out, you know. After the first issue, I was kind of into it. I do like the whole Jessica Drew and Spider-Man kind of, you know, magic mystery thing going on, even though it hasn't progressed that much, but still, you know, it's still kind of cool. But let me know down below what you were thinking about this. Did you read any of these? Are you looking forward to the next issues? Most of the characters fighting that I'm interested are the ones coming up. But so far it's been really good. But that's all I got for you. That's my review. I'll let y'all go, guys. Bah.